Are we live? Ugh. Time to fire up the archives. We'll go back in time to April 23rd, 1911. The loss of the Cunard liner Lusitania shocked the world after the massive liner struck an iceberg and was lost. Taking the lives of 1,500 people with 713 survivors. The tragedy of Lusitania sinking had changed the world. It happened just 3 months after her sister, Mauretania, went missing. Through your routine crossing from Liverpool to New York. Today, we're going to go back in time to the loss of the Lusitania and figure out how the tragedy unfolded. Led to the deaths. The deaths of 1,500 men, women, and children in the frigid Atlantic. That fateful night.
You have been teleported to 0.50, minus 30.00, minus 60.50. Teleport again underscore flare down to 0.50, minus 30.00, minus 60.50. QPFC0 minus 311651. You have been teleported to 0.50 minus 31.00 1651.50. Teleport game underscore flared to 0.50 minus 31.00 1651.50.
Stern area to work on the final setting. We can clearly see where the ship broke in half that night at this stage. Passengers were falling through here, and the ship broke as the stern fell back for a moment. Those in the lifeboats would have been terrified as the ship tore itself apart. Anyways, let's bring the rest of the vessel together. This one we're going to have to build block by block so we can try to make her accurate. Well, she might have looked during her final voyage. It was April 22nd, 1911 when the Lusitania met her fate. At 11:40 p.m. the ship collided with an iceberg, which ripped a gaping hole in the starboard side, allowing huge quantities of water to pour in. The bow, filling with water, sank deeper and deeper below the surface until her stern stood straight up in the air. As the ship began to slide forward, there was a twisting and torquing motion as the metals ripped apart. Will McAllen was 19 years old at the time, in 1911, and when he was found alive on the wreck in 1984. Seemingly that paranormal entity known as the Mesh kept him alive for 73 years at the bottom of the North Atlantic in the wreck of the Lusitania. A shipwreck that had claimed the lives of 1,500 others. So basically he is among the 713 survivors who had escaped aboard the ship's 20 lifeboats that were launched, for a total of 48 lifeboats. Seemingly the ship sank a little too quick. The ship had managed to remain afloat for 2 hours and 40 minutes, allowing most of our lifeboats to be deployed, but she was running out of time near the end. Captain William Turner, final command. Abandoned ship, every man for himself. Lusitania's bow dove below the surface of the North Atlantic. The stern, with 4 massive propellers, rose steadily higher and higher into the air as our hull began to flex and bend under the strain. The stresses built as the ship tilted. Her hull buckled and bent under the strain till she finally broke her back. The weight of the unsupported stern had flexed the ship to a point where she could withstand the forces anymore, and she broke in half. Terrified as the stern fell back for the last time. The bow plunged downwards, the stern tilted skyward. Both halves of the wreck will now be held by the double bottom. As Lusitania's stern rose up in the air for the last time, passengers slid across the deck. As the sinking liner dipped lower, once her stern was bobbing like a cork, passengers held on for dear life. And finally, Lusitania took her last breath and dove below the surface of the North Atlantic. Did you see? Iceberg right ahead. Thank you. Iceberg right ahead, sir. Hard to starboard. The ship's final moments afloat were horrifying as the ship was torn in half at 2:17. Time to get the boats away. The ship was sinking too quickly, going by the head and listing to starboard. Audio from the fateful night I have recovered. Please keep in mind that this audio contains content that may be unsuitable for younger viewers, since I discovered the archives as an analog horror. Viewer discretion is advised. Ship's four turbines, which propelled her in like 27 knots, had basically driven her into tragedy. As the ship crashed into an iceberg, plowing right through it. One question remains. What was the mesh? And why does it exist? 2 hours and 40 minutes after colliding with the iceberg, Lusitania finally succumbed to her wounds and sank to the bottom of the Atlantic. The form Lu ribbon holder now lies at the bottom of the North Atlantic, torn in half. Sitting upright, miraculously. Those of the boats remembered as the ship began to slide forward, a twisting and turning motion tore her in half. As the metals ripped apart.
Google Pixel 8.
Now, actual audio from the archives.
Welcome to the Project Britannica. This tape is designed to guide new employees into their assigned ships from Set 1, and to familiarize employees with the inhabitation level of their assigned ships. This tape will cover the first set of Project Britannica's ships. Those being the SS Mauritania, the SS Prometheus, the SS Empress of Britain, and the SS Olympic. Ship 1 of Set 1, SS Mauritania, inhabitation level 0. Employees assigned to Mauritania must only board the ship in specially provided suits, with no less than 12 people boarding the ship at a time. Employees must communicate to the outside team every minute with an exact location on the ship, according to the provided deck plans. 3 of Set 1, SS Empress of Britain, inhabitation level 55. Employees assigned to Empress of Britain may board the ship without the provided suits, but only if entering the topmost decks of the vessel. Any employees venturing below Deck D must wear the provided suits and communicate their position with their employees on a higher deck every 5 minutes according to the deck plans. Ship 4 of Set 1, SS Olympic, inhabitation level 95. Employees assigned to SS...
What the? Anyways, let's go to the Lusitanians Fire William McGowan.
Thank you for coming in today, Mr. McGowan. Just for your information, this interview will be recorded and used for the purposes of Project Britannica. Take as much time as you need. If you want to take a short break or would prefer to write down your account, please...
I'm fine speaking.
Well then, let's begin. What was your role aboard the Lusitania in April of 1911?
Well, I'd been assigned to a third-class steward on the Lusitania, after a Mauritania had went missing a few months before. Most of the lads I worked with there were new recruits. Most of our current Lusitania crew had left. I don't think many of them wanted to be on that ship.
They didn't want to be on the ship?
Oh no, sir. Not after a Mauritania. Many of those lads had wives and children at home. I was just happy to be out of the mines and somewhere clean.
You had sailed before this?
Never, sir. This was my first sailing. They were hiring whoever they could. A few of the lads I worked with up in the Pennines were aboard in the cargo holds. Some as cleaners on the deck. Another lad was with me in third class.
How had the voyage been before the night of the 22nd?
A fine one indeed, sir. Oh, the Lucy was a grand thing, you know. And we were practically flying across the Atlantic with the pace they had us going at. I think one of the deckhands told me we'd cross 27 knots on Friday.
Ship 2 of Set 2, SS Aquitania, inhabitation level 85. Employees assigned to SS Aquitania may board the ship without the provided suits, but only if entering the uppermost decks of the vessel. Key hotspots on the vessel are the engine rooms, the aftmost boiler rooms, the Grand Saloon, and the galleys. Ship 3 of Set 2, SS Waratah, inhabitation level 43. Employees assigned to SS Waratah may board the...
So what were you doing at the time of the collision?
We were readying the saloon for practice, sir. A few of the other lads were in during the collision, and we were thrown to our floor, you know. Bits of the iceberg came in through windows and shattered the glass. We all ran up to the top deck to see it pass the stern. It was a huge thing, you know, towered right above our funnels. And there was ice all along the promenade deck, from forward to aft.
And what did you do after the collision?
We were told to report to the top deck in an event of an accident. There was something with that ship, with all of those ships. We weren't oblivious to it, you know. I saw with my own eyes the Mauritania when they dragged her back in. She was practically a wreck. That just doesn't happen by itself.
Please, Mr. McGowan, if you would just...
20 years you've kept us in here. 20 bloody years since you ever brought us all in here. It's been so long. I don't even know where we are anymore. Just tell me, for the love of God, what was the thing in the Lusitania and the Mauritania?
No, I can't.
Next up is audio from the night. Ship's listed to starboard at 25 degrees and plunging right ahead. Captain William Turner gave final orders to his crew and passengers. Abandon ship, every man for himself. There's nothing they can do to save the Lusitania. She was going down fast. The forecastle was starting to flood at an alarming rate. With the listing the ship was suffering from, the bow submerging fast. The crew was working tirelessly trying to get the portside lifeboats lowered away, but the boats were swinging inwards and crushing passengers due to the severe listing. Lifeboat 20 fell from the ship, passengers holding on for dear life. Will McGowan recalled his position as the ship tilted more and more by the head. It slowly but surely began to level off from our starboard list, as noted by the other survivors from the lifeboats. The ship's power began to fail. Our lights began to dim. Captain William Turner was last seen entering the bridge to go down the stricken liner. The crew worked tirelessly trying to get the portside boats ready for lowering. But each time they tried to lower one of the two previous failed attempts had led to two boats falling off, and one boat swinging inwards and crushing passengers. At this point, her starboard was reduced to about 15 degrees, and she was starting to stabilize herself. And playing cheery tunes all night long, began their final piece of music. Nearer, my God, to thee. A church hymn recalled by survivors in the lifeboats. At this point, her starboard list finally eliminates, and Lusitania levels out, and she begins to rapidly plunge by the head. That's when the crew decide to let the remaining wooden and collapsible lifeboats all float away. Packed passengers scrambled to try and climb aboard those lifeboats as Lusitania began her final plunge. Will McGowan is caught by the mesh and dragged into a vent near the forward funnel. This is where he will later be found, and the wreck will later be found. 73 years later. The rest of the audio will speak for itself. As the ship takes her dramatic final plunge. forward funnel topples to the port side, crushing those in the friction of Atlantic. Will McAllen stared in horror at the mesh. I realized I wanted to keep him alive and preserve him for the next 73 years, frozen in time. The ship creaks and groans, and the powerful explosions heard from the second funnel as it came down, crushing those in the frigid Atlantic. Lusitania's stern rises higher and higher in the air, her four massive bronze propellers now clearly visible to the naked eye. As the ship slid forward, twisting and turkey motion began to build in their sinking ship as the hull began to flex and bend under the strain. Those in the lifeboats watched in horror as the ship tilted skyward, her head trim now around 30 degrees as passengers began to slide across the deck, this time sliding forward instead of starboard. "713 people have escaped in 20 lifeboats, and 1,500 remain trapped aboard the Lusitania. Only 20 of the 48 lifeboats were launched that night. She had enough for everyone aboard, but due to the list, it made it impossible to launch portside lifeboats till the very end. As the crew tried to launch the boats, the ship dropped like a stone. Captain William Turner had drowned when the bridge flooded, while third-class steward William McGowan watched the mesh perform its magic in preserving Will. Those aboard Lusitania held on as the ship tilted skyward. The ship tilts around 35 degrees. Those in the boats watch the ship continue to higher and higher in the air. Passengers and furniture crashing forward as the ship lurched by the head. A twisting and turning motion was continuing to build within the stricken liner. Their hull began to flex and bend under the strain. At 40 degrees, her electricity suddenly failed. and the ship is plunged in the darkness once and for all. The only light left glowing was the oil lamp on the main mast, according to many survivors. While few survivors said the ship's backup lighting continued to burn as long as promised. But most had claimed that the ship had plunged in the darkness with the exception of the oil lamp on the main mast. Finally, at an angle of 45 degrees, the weight of the unsupported stern flexed the ship to the point where the inevitable occurs. The decks begin to buckle and fail. The ship's structure begins to tear apart. Finally, with a mighty and tearing assault, Lusitania tore herself apart right underneath the third funnel. The stern falls back with a dramatic splash. And then the great funnel, weakened by an explosion of a thermal tank, finally collapses. The bow plunges downward, dragging the stern quickly. The stern rose high in the air one last time, going vertical, before the double bottom gave way. Lusitania begins her final descent, the stern bobbing for a brief moment, before finally beginning to plunge down to the bottom of the North Atlantic. Geysers burst out, cargo hatches along the stern. The second-class deckhouse, the second-class superstructure submerges quickly, followed by the poop deck. Finally, at 2:20 a.m., April 23rd, 1911, RMS Lusitania slipped below the surface of the North Atlantic, never to be seen for 73 years. Disaster occurring only 3 months after the disaster only occurring just a month after Mauritania's mysterious disappearance. The loss of the Lusitania shocked the world. The largest ship, the fastest blue ribbon holder, had been sunk. The wreck now lands at the bottom of the North Atlantic, the bow and stern sitting 2,000 feet apart. At 3:30 a.m., April 23rd, 1911, the White Star liner Canopic arrives on the scene. The small 500-foot-long steamer rescued the 713 survivors and brought them to New York. The whole world wondered, how did the blue ribbon holder, sister to the previous liner that went missing, end up foundering after striking an iceberg? Despite many survivors testified that the ship broke apart, the most commonly believed at the time that the ship had sunk intact and was laid there on the sea floor, waiting to be salvaged. But it will be 73 years till the truth of Lusitania's wreck will be revealed. ship lied at the bottom of the North Atlantic, 2.5 miles down. Torn in half. The bow and stern resting 2,000 feet at point. September 1st, 1984, just 73 years after the sinking of the Lusitania, oceanographers and explorers finally found her wreck laying on the seafloor. Willow McAllen is found and brought back up to the surface of the North Atlantic. Three years later, in 1987, he was testified. We were going on a rampage due to PTSD settling in after being trapped at the bottom for 73 years in an ocean liner that had sunk after colliding with an iceberg. The tragedy shocks the world to this day. And other vessels involved in Project Britannica, Mauritania, Aquitania, Empress of Britain, Olympic, Warta, Titanic, are under paranormal investigation due to sightings of the mesh. Well, the Britannic set off on her maiden voyage in June of 1915 before striking a sea mine and sinking, with only 30 people dead. And thanks to the gantry damage as a result of the Lusitania disaster 4 years prior, he managed to prove that their vessels were safer and had enough lifeboats for all on board. The reason why 30 people were killed in Britannic sinking is they launched lifeboats without orders or were dragged into the still turning propellers, where they were chopped up. Tragic loss of Lusitania. This is the deadliest tragedy that the Cunard have dealt with since the disappearance of Lusitania. And due to the mesh, it preserved a crucial clue to the sinking of the Lusitania. Mysteries of the breakup still around to this day. And how did a ship break apart just like that? She was tilting skyward, her hull straining to hold together. The weight of the unsupported stirring across the structure during the fail, cracking from the top down.
Okay, 100 Fort Blair damage pointing over there. Too many dots in the specified area. 399,546, 32,768.
I don't like falling in. Boss battle. Ooh. Oh, great. Oh, great. Great. This little castle. That wonder of destruction. Make it too spooky. Make it stupid. Down the railings. See if there's critical damage. Oh, no. Stuck.